Brendan Rodgers, Casper Schmeichel, Gary Lineker, Rusty Lee, Engelbert Humperdinck. Your team took one hell of a beating. Welcome to Soccer Saturday. Good morning, good afternoon, all around the world. Welcome to the TFA Family Football app, the #1 football community in the world, and a proud sponsor of Hollywood Balls. Welcome to Facebook Live. Welcome to YouTube Live. Welcome to Kevin Campbell, our very own George from TFA, and welcome to today's special guest. And it's a return to Hollywood Balls, but a debut for Hollywood Balls Live. It's the one and only Chi Onwurah, MP for Parliament, Newcastle upon Tyne, also Shadow Minister, Digital Science and Tech. I did it. I've had sleepless night about that, Chi.
You got it all right.
How are you doing?
I am great this morning. This morning is we had some bad, difficult results on the political field over the last few days.
Yeah.
But on the football field, it's a great day to wake up to.
It is, and you've already become our lucky mascot. So unfortunately for you, until the unbeaten run stops, you're going to have to be on every week. Get that in before we start. It is.
I would do that if I thought it would work. I would do that. I would do anything.
I know you would. Listen, it's been a while since we caught up, and for the viewers, we've got lots of new viewers. Welcome to everyone, and thanks again for last night. We had a Nigerian guest on. Kev, Chi, I've got to tell you, George and I spent an hour with this gentleman last night. A rags to riches story from how his father wouldn't let him go out to play football to becoming the top scorer in beach soccer for Nigeria. It was absolutely fascinating. So a big welcome to all our African fans as well as people here in the UAE. Now, Chi, just for everyone to know, tell us if you can, because it's quite a journey, wasn't it, into politics? How did you get into it?
Well, gosh, I could talk about this for hours, but I won't. But I was born in Wallsend. I grew up in Newcastle, and my father's Nigerian, and but with the Biafran War, he wasn't around in Newcastle, so we grew up on a council estate, North Kenton, for anyone who's listening, without any money, and without any money on benefits. So my mother was disabled, and I suppose from a really early age, I knew that what made a difference to people was education, health, school, and housing, and that was what, for me, the Labour Party stood for. So I joined the Labour Party when I was 16. But what I really wanted to do was to be an engineer. I loved engineering. I loved, our local history, our great engineers like Stevenson and Parsons, etc. So what I would say was, I became an engineer. I worked all over the world. I worked in Nigeria. I worked in the UK. I worked in France. I worked in the US. But I always loved politics. I always wanted to make things better, and particularly for the people I grew up with in Newcastle, because that's what made me. Newcastle made me. And so when the local MP for Newcastle Central said he was standing down in 2010, I thought, I'll have a go. And the great people of Newcastle Central, the fantastic and amazing people of Newcastle Central, first selected me as a Labour candidate and then elected me. And that's so I got into politics, partially because of personal and my mum's influence and the ideology of Labour, but also because I just wanted to represent the people I grew up with in Newcastle, who are the most fantastic people in the world.
Fantastic.
It is. And I tell you, carrying that flame for all things Newcastle, not just, football as well, of course, because you're a fan and you know what it means to the people, which is how we met. But it literally is, standing up there and say what the fans think, what the people of Newcastle think, and having that extra voice. But it brings me, because I say it's quite a while since we last met. But in football world, unfortunately, Chi, we're no further forward. I followed your tweets just in the last couple of weeks. We're no further forward from our last conversation when it comes to online bullying and racism, are we?
George, that is something which is so frustrating. And like the story I was tell is, when I was a kid in Newcastle, I wouldn't go near St James's Park on a Saturday afternoon because I knew that was where the National Front in those days were recruiting, and there was so much, the racism, and a black footballer would get monkey chants at them. And we did so much over the years, show racism, the red card, kick it out. Football fans have come together and done so much to get racism out of the stadium, if you like. And it's all, it's gone on social media. It's just like, it's horrendous, the stuff that is out there. And footballers, who are, footballers, this is their work, if you like, it's their job. And then they get this horrendous abuse on social media. And there was a lot of discussion. I think it was 2 years ago. There was a short boycott. The platforms and said they would change. They would, but it's still there. And I think I want to really pay tribute to players who have raised it and and who did the boycott over the last weekend. But as a politician, I'm just saying this, this is something for government to take action on, because we should be protected. And I think it's really strongly, we should be protected online just as we are on the street. If somebody shouts something racist at you, that is a hate crime on the streets. If it happens on social media, then they should be protected as well. And it's not what football is about.
No, George, I'm going to bring you in first.
Well, let me, if I could, let me get Kevin to talk, because I'm very close to this, too close to this. I want to take a minute because I want to talk slowly and not get upset, right? Because I agree 1,000,000%. Kevin, do you want to share some thoughts?
Yeah.
Look, obviously what she said is 100% correct. The key to all of this for me is these people go where they are allowed to. If you allow them to move, 1 minute they're around the football clubs stamp that out, so they go to where they're accepted and where they can do it. So where do they go? They move from there, one place to the other. Now social media is there. Social media isn't policing it. There's no sanction. There's no accountability. So they can do it there. And then when you see people actually do get caught, they go to court. They don't even get a slap on the wrist. So, so it looks like it's allowed, and that cannot happen. We're all human beings. And if you think bad of somebody, think bad of them. Don't say it's because of the color of their skin or their sexual orientation or whatever. If you think somebody's had a bad game, hey, you've had a bad game. Believe you me, players can take that. Players know if they've had a bad game. But, going the other route and it's because of your skin and they're having a dig like that.
I mean,
it's poor. Go on, George.
Listen, the beautiful game, right? One of the great things about the beautiful game is that it brings people together, okay? I don't care. You could be educated, rich, poor, any religion, any ethnic minority, any country. When it comes to the game, we're always equal. It brings people together. I say this 1,000 times. At grammar school as an 11-year-old, it struck me then, it strikes me now in the Great War on Christmas Day. The Brits and the Germans said, no fight today. What do? They played a game of football, right? The game, it's a beautiful game and it brings people together. So I'm going to give a plug now. I feel terribly guilty sharing it, but we have our platform, and the culture of the platform of our social, it's a gamified social network around football, right? And the culture of what we've created literally accepts is zero toleration of anything inappropriate like racism, right? And one of the ways we do that is because, unlike these big platforms who make money and keep it for themselves, we share it with our community. So there's economic incentive as well. So not only morally, right, we reward people with good behavior. And boy, if they don't behave, they're out and they can't come back in as a different ID, right, with a different user ID. So we're very passionate about this. We have followers in 50 countries. We have a ton of fans in Nigeria, okay, in the app. But I'm clearly passionate about this. I should slow down a little bit. but you know, we've designed this from the ground up to be all inclusive, all equal, and for the, and this is the most important word, guys, community, right?
Yeah.
Because it's communities that sustain us. It's communities that keep us happy. It's communities that we share love with. And that's what we're all about. And I'm, like Kevin keeps says, he's my hero, Kevin. You know, these other social platforms should do something about it, and they do not.
Yeah.
They do not.
I mean, can I just say, George, I think that sounds fantastic. And, you know, my background's in engineering. I worked in technology for 20 years before coming into Parliament. And I always say, you know, if it's not diverse by design, it will be unequal by outcome. And the fact that you've designed, it's got to be designed in. And what really frustrates me is that these big tech platforms with, you know, they've got the revenues the size of some countries, you know, they know more about technology now, you know, than I do. They've got so many resources, and yet they say that they cannot design their platforms to be, you know, to be equal and fair and inclusive. And you know, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. They don't have the incentives. And I think what you're saying about designing it that way and designing it for communities is what the tech giants should have been doing from the start.
I'll give you an example. I'll just give you a smaller microcosm. Okay, in our platform, people can earn the token for free, and it has value. And they can spend it at real businesses, okay? So recently, we introduced a university that offers British degrees online that our users can earn and pay in the token for free. So we reached out to Nigeria recently, and just the first test, they got 70 applications, 70 applications for degrees to be paid for in the thing they earn for free in our app. Right? We believe in community, and we believe in the world community. Right? I speak with an English accent, but the guy in Turkey, the lady in India who's a great predictor, she earns so many points. I don't know how she does it. Right? You know, our friends in Nigeria, to us, they are the embodiment of what's most important in the community, and if you keep it on a community basis, and it's their community, not ours, we're here to serve, we can go to great places, including really improving this terrible racism thing, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think, you know, one of the things I feel really strongly about is, like, you talk about the community, you know, the rules about what is fair and sort of on, you know, how we treat like racism on Facebook or Twitter, they shouldn't be decided by Facebook and Twitter. Yeah. And, you know, they should be decided by, you know, by people. And you know, in Labour, we're calling on the government, you know, to listen to people, our experiences, listen, and then, you know, footballers as well. And it's great that, you know, Raheem Sterling and Marcus Rashford and you know, others are speaking out about this. Listening to people, and, you know, use that as the basis for the rules that we should have online, and bring in legislation, because, you know, we've seen it's not working as it is. You know, people doing their job shouldn't be suffering, and nobody, actually, not footballers, no one should suffer
absolutely
onslaught and or homophobic misogynist that we get. It's like, it's a gutter there.
Yeah, well said. Well, and it's the community that have to do the self-policing, not the companies. So, for example, in ours, we don't do the policing. We have admins from the community, and they're in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, ask Kevin. He's in the app all the time, like me. It's love. It's a passion for earning the token, make free money for them so they can make a difference for their lives, right? Those are the values, surely, that we must represent today for the community.
Speaking of making a difference for our community, I've got to give them what we have is for you guys is your first code. So there's three codes, which is a bonus room code, Chi, for our amazing family, and they get this code. They get the bonus room after the show finishes, and they go and they earn their points for from the show. So we will give them their first code for the day. There we go. So it's part 1 of your code, another 2 parts to come. So keep that safe as we move on through the show. And let's go. Kevin, I'm going to come to you first on football matters. Well, let's get this bit out of the way. A bad week for the Arsenal all round. Apart from, it looked, up at Newcastle last weekend. I was texting you during the game. You very kindly left me simmer afterwards because I was so annoyed. But it looked good, and then you have this week where they don't show up. And what have you said on every show? Which Arsenal will turn up?
Yeah, and this has been the problem for Arsenal all season. The manager is probably. I'm surprised he's got any hair left. He he should have pulled it out long time ago, because these players on paper, Pete, and often say on paper they've got loads of quality. But you know what? The game isn't played on paper. It's played on a football pitch, and you have opponents where you've got to try and dominate them. The problem with Arsenal haven't turned up for 2 legs of this semi-final, really, and they went out with a whimper. And it's you can get angry. No, it's not good. You can get angry and all that, but the truth of the matter, Pete, I think it was always going to happen. It needed to happen. I wanted Arsenal to win. Of course I did. But it was always going to happen because we had to hit rock bottom. And now this is rock bottom and the crossroads. We got fans protesting outside the ground, Pete, because of the owner. We got the team not functioning. Is it because of the manager or is it because of the players? We've hit a crossroads. Now, the same owner who the fans want out is going to have to invest, because he's not going to be selling it anytime soon. So this is the dilemma.
Yeah, Kevin, look, we've got many mutual Arsenal friends. I've got some very close Arsenal friends. I'm hearing from them that the club is rotten from the core now. They're saying they feel that, right from the owners to the players and what have you. What do you think should happen, Kevin?
Got to clear the decks, George. The decks have to be cleared, because obviously the manager has brought in certain players, but you can see Arsenal tend to go back to how things were, where they're not competitive. So it has to be root and branch. You've got to clear the decks. You have to bring in new people who want to fight and tackle and run first. Not play fancy football first.
Yeah.
Compete first. Once you got a competitive team, then you could add the little sprinkling of quality. But we're not even a competitive team anymore.
You were a competitive team back in the day when you were playing, when it was the Invincibles. And, our section has proved, the new section that we've got where the fans are sending in questions for our guests, has proven really popular. I literally had to stave them all off. It's a Kevin Campbell Saturday, basically, Kev. So obviously you played for Arsenal and Everton. But we're going to go with our Arsenal question first, from a guy that is very well known in London, a great musician, and a massive Arsenal fan. So here we go.
Yes, Kevin. Yes, my brother. I got 2 questions. I know it's supposed to be 1, but I got to ask you 2 questions, bro. Now, I'm a Gooner, man. I'm a hybrid Gooner. I'm born in North London, bro. So, I love Arsenal, and I've seen you play so many times. But the question I have for you, my friend, is... what did you feel like when you signed that first contract for Arsenal? And the second question is, what was it like when you scored your first goal for Arsenal and the fans sang your name? I don't know if you can describe the feeling of that. And that's my question from Shawnee T. Respect, brother.
Fantastic. But before you answer it, Kevin, I've got to say to you, you could be a politician with I always wonder how you get away with asking so many questions in one go. But there you go.
Come in.
Kevin.
Shawnee T, thanks for the question. No, that was a 2-part question, you see, Pete. That was a 2-part, 1 question, but with 2 parts. If people don't know, well, I'll explain. I've been an Arsenal fan all my life, from South London in Brixton. And I've been football crazy since I was a lad. Now, to be able to support Arsenal, I first went to Arsenal in 1977, supporting the club. Couldn't afford to go. Me and my mates clubbed our money together, went there, couldn't afford to get in. Clubbed our money, bought one program, and just to be there, to be around the streets and the smell was fantastic. And when they opened the North Bank with 20 minutes to go, we quickly ran in and we got to see the last 20 minutes of the game, which was fantastic. So that's where I'm coming from. So to sign for the football club as a young player is a dream for me. It was a dream. Any young lad coming through, it's a dream to say I've signed for the team I support. That was one thing. And then to score my first goal in front of that very North Bank, it wasn't my debut, it was my home debut. I scored in front of that very North Bank where I stood in 1977.
Amazing.
Again, these things are building blocks of a foundation of dreams.
Yeah.
For me. So, Shawnee T, it was just a dream-like existence for me to play for Arsenal, to sign for Arsenal, and to score in front of the North Bank, and to hear, the North Bank singing my name was absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. Great question as well from a great musician.
Shawnee T, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic. And to hear his passion about his football, just goes back to what George says, is the fact that everyone from every walk of life is a fan, as Chi and myself are, as we've witnessed. Chi, funnily enough, I was just watching yesterday, I was on my catch-up with Sky TV, and there was a fantastic documentary on about the Entertainers when Kevin Keegan was our manager. And our good friends were playing Lee Clark, all of the local boys, and it took me back to times in the 90s when Newcastle were basically the talk of the Premier League.
No, it was good. I lived in Paris. I worked as an engineer in Paris from 92 to 95, and I came back to London in 95, and that was just fantastic. That was the time that I came back in, I think it was September or whatever, and it was just a great season. And I used to go and watch Newcastle at Highbury and at Tottenham, and it was fantastic.
They were great times. Funnily enough, George, one player yesterday that was a friend of the show, John Beresford, was asked, those times were your best as a player, but you didn't win anything. And he said, yeah. He said, I didn't. He said, but he said, you could line me up against a player with medals and you could ask us both. And he said, would I swap that time at Newcastle for a medal? No way.
That's right.
No way.
To quote a phrase that we use at Spurs that I like to remind Daniel Levy of sometimes, the game is about glory, right? And it takes a brave person to define what glory means, right? Newcastle in that area was the epitome of glory. And people will never forget that area. Yeah. We watch those games. It still breaks my heart when I watch Liverpool score that fourth goal against Newcastle, 4-3, right? It feels like yesterday, right? But that era was glory for Newcastle, right? And, as Kevin says, I have a soft spot for Newcastle. I mean, when I was a very young lad, my brother, I'm from North London. Clearly, I saw the light. I'm a Spurs fan, not an Arsenal fan. But my brother went to university in Newcastle. So as a 12-year-old, I went to see him, and we went to a Newcastle Spurs game. Now, I'm showing my age. Spurs beat Newcastle at St. James's Park 5-2. Alfie Conn got 4 goals. The thing I will never forget, is that Spurs were winning 5-2, and you'd thought from the crowd we were losing 10-0, right? The Geordies were so passionate, and that stayed with me forever. I will tell you that.
No, it is that passion, and I'll say also that obviously we want silverware, we want trophies, but that sense from the glory years, from when Keegan, that sense that that you're proud of what the team's doing on the pitch, whatever, that you're proud of your team because they're playing so well, they're playing so inventively, or they're coming back, or that is what really matters.
It was beautiful.
Just the other thing I want to say, because my, topic when Kevin's talking about scoring for his, the team that he loves, I suppose in some ways representing the city that I love is quite that. It's not close to me, but my brother played for Newcastle Boys, as a kid, and I always think that he was in the minds of many, he was the most successful Onwurah because it's a close one thing whether representing the city or playing for the team. But I think ultimately playing for the team is probably more important to most Geordies.
Brilliant. And funnily enough, George, Les Ferdinand was questioned, and Les has been a major part of both of our clubs. And he said, and he's quite matter of fact about it. Towards the end of the interview, he said, I still wake up and go, how did we not win that league? Every day. Speaking of glory, George, big games this weekend. Dress rehearsal for the Champions League final. Given I just love how you chill out the weekend when you can, and you love your football so much. So a Chelsea Man City dress rehearsal for the European Champions League final. It must be in your dreams for this weekend, is it?
Yeah, great game, great teams, great clubs. I do feel a twinge a little bit, if I'm honest. We talk about the Super League, how everyone was against it.
Yeah.
Look, the bench last week that Man City had, just on the bench, £462 million worth, right?
It's not bad, is it?
I mean, the Chelsea Man City game, we should call it El Clasico, right? Not El Clasico,
like
right?
That. I hope you trademarked that.
El Clasico. But nonetheless, both teams are playing beautiful football, top of their game. TT's doing a great job at Chelsea. Honestly, I can't call that game, but it's going to be a feast. It's a game for the gods,
Kevin, with that in mind, and it's probably you're a pundit yourself now. You're always on our screens. Do you think you'll get asked a lot prior to the game this weekend? Is it a dress rehearsal? How will both teams be looking at it? And I know both bosses are going to come out and say it's one game at a time and blah blah. We know that's the standard phrase, but will there be some mindset of that final down the line?
100%. There's mind games. There's maybe a little test here and there with a formation change, just to see if it unsettles the opposition. And don't forget, it's a must-win game for Chelsea. Because they're still not secure that Champions League spot.
That's right.
And it's a must-win game for Manchester City, because if they win, they could win the title.
Yeah.
Right.
It's at Manchester City. Don't forget, Chelsea beat a reorganized Manchester City in the semi-final of the FA Cup. Pep Guardiola doesn't like losing. Thomas Tuchel doesn't like losing. So I think we're going to be in for a treat. I honestly think Manchester City have more to gain by winning this game.
Yes.
I really do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can imagine, if City lose, that's 2 defeats in a row against Chelsea.
Right.
And the psychology of the Champions League final then changes, right?
Yes, big time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to introduce the second code, which is the one before the last knockings of this show. So you've got your first one. Here's part 2 for you guys to make a note of. TFA bonus room code part 2. George, is it like just literally pandemonium when the show ends with this room open? Everyone just goes nuts.
It goes crazy. What we do is
lock the doors.
When we have the six digits, people put those digits in the app. They go into a special room, and they have the opportunity to earn a ton of points, which are converted free to the token, which has value. Right? We're all about giving money, right? Empowering people in the community, and it's real money,
So if Kev,
it goes crazy. It goes crazy.
If Kev Chi and I knock off 5 minutes early with the codes, we can
we're in. We're trying.
I mean, the servers. She will understand this. The servers, you can see the smoke coming out, right? It's incredible.
Absolutely brilliant. The servers are going mad now. There's so many messages. Thanks for that. If you would take the time and please subscribe to the channel, I would be extremely grateful. And therefore, I will guarantee giving you the last part of the code. I'm nothing if not fair. Okay. The other game that I wanted to have a look at is Man United. They're at Aston Villa. Kev. Now, first of all, will we get a game out of them this weekend? Will they be on the pitches in Birmingham, or is? I want to ask all of our guests where they stand on that, because there's been quite a. I watched it happening, and obviously Gary Neville was extremely passionate about it. So was Roy Keane. They had Graham Souness in the studio as well, who was Liverpool, who had a different point of view. It got quite fraught, didn't it? This business of trying to stop the game. Where do we go from there?
Who's that to, Pete?
It's to you first, Kevin.
Okay. I agree with the protest because of the way these clubs went about what they were doing. I didn't think it was right. I thought it was a total disregard for the fan base. Yep. So you're right to protest. But you know what, Pete? The moment you start breaking into football stadiums and breaking the law, that's where you've got to draw the line. Yeah, sure. You have to draw the line somewhere. And when you're starting to have a peaceful protest, which should have happened, and horses and policemen are getting injured, that's not right. That's not what it's all about. No. Protest with all your energy about the situation, 100%. But to get the game stopped, Pete, for breaking into your home stadium, that took it a little bit too far for me.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, listen, guys, protest is a critical part of our society, of our community. It's the right thing to do. But anything that's violence, breaks the law, hurts people, unacceptable. And, you know, if I could pick up, who am I to say this, right? But when you listen to Roy Keane sometimes, God, it gives you encouragement because you think you could become a pundit, you know? You know, he more or less, he allowed himself to be interpreted as to say what happened by breaking the stadium was okay.
Yep.
And that is absolutely unacceptable.
Wrong. Yeah, that's unacceptable.
Absolutely unacceptable. Not acceptable.
Yeah. Because I just want to start by saying, you know, because I've seen this on social media, Newcastle United fans saying, Manchester, holding up Manchester United fans as an example, you know, that's the way to get change. You know, when you've got a lot to protest about, as Man United fans have, as Newcastle United fans have. You know, the Super League, the European Super League was an idea driven purely by greed and those who didn't even understand the game. And fans do need to be leading the game. Fans need to be, fans need to have much bigger say in the game, and we need a fan-led Premier League and a fan-led football league. But the moment you go into violence, and particularly that, invading the stadium and attacking, as Kevin said, the police, then you have then you've put yourself outside the law, and you cannot, that's what the Premier League is all about. It's been driven by money and greed. We want it to be driven by what's right and by fans' interests. And when you put yourself outside the law, then you lose that. Then you lose that argument.
And speaking from experience, Chi, let's not forget Newcastle have vast experience in protesting. They, now the Premier League. A year ago, everyone was like, "Oh, look at Newcastle again, making a noise about the Premier League, the big bad Premier League." Now they can see why these protests were taking place, but it was done and it was driven through people like yourself with petitions and making a noise in the right places, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to say this. I've worked in engineering. I've worked in Parliament. I've worked in really male-dominated environments. But the Premier League, I've never met egos and arrogance. like from the Premier League, and Newcastle United has suffered from it, and the fans have suffered from it. And when it comes to the Saudi Arabia, the takeover, and again, to make it clear, Saudi Arabia are not my cup of tea. I do not support a murderous, misogynist dictatorship, and I don't think Newcastle fans do. But if the Premier League were going to take the Premier League, who get to decide who the owners are, I don't get to decide that. The fans don't get to decide that. Premier League and Mike Ashley in this case do. And if they're going to take a high moral ground, then they need to do that under consistent and transparent and agreed rules. And they just were totally messed around. Newcastle United fans who've had to put up with so much, and Mike Ashley is always selling and never sold. So what I tried to do was the petition, writing to the Premier League, got a response, which actually when the Premier League responded to my letter, that crashed all the servers, keeping my website going.
Right throughout the northeast.
Right, we got a response. That was something, but no change, and the petition which I raised in Parliament. There's just two things I want to say here. We need a fan-led review of football. The government's got a review which has been led by Tracy Crouch, who's a great woman. She was sports minister, but we actually need a fan-led review of football. And we also, we need to see the Premier League having transparent rules about what happens, because it's just been the way in which the Newcastle United fans and this takeover has been treated. It's just been absolutely atrocious in terms of no communication. And people often ask me, particularly Sunderland fans, actually, they say, what are you doing raising football in Parliament? Haven't you got better things to do? There are food banks which are a huge amount of demand. There's poverty, and all those issues I do raise. But I'll tell you something: is we've been talking about football is something which unites Newcastle. Football is something which is a huge it's a huge economic issue for the city, but it's also a huge, community and mental health issue for the city. And I don't make any apologies for raising that in Parliament, because it's something that my constituents care about, and I know why they care about it.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
You don't expect the Premier League to be held accountable, do you?
Yeah,
but the Premier League.
But that is the change I want to see. I know you think I'm dreaming.
No, I don't. I think everybody wants it, Chi. George, don't you agree? Everybody wants it.
Completely. Chi, you're so on the money. Look, the level of inconsistency. I've got nothing against Manchester City, nothing against Chelsea. We know what they get away with through the financing, right? And yet, Newcastle, they get treated with a different standard. Okay,
exactly.
The Premier League, UEFA for that matter, need gutting. They need fans to run it, and to be run equally and consistently for everybody. Because, as you say, it's all about the community, and the clubs make a massive difference for the community. Really do.
George, it's the transparency.
Yeah.
To be held, to be accountable, you have to be transparent.
Yeah, and that,
right. If you're not going to get one, you're not going to get the other.
That's so true. And that comes down, and that's the Premier League and the finances of our clubs. I actually got the House of Commons sort of library, sort of forensic accountants to try and go through Newcastle United's accounts to try and figure out where some of this money, which was going to was going, and we couldn't figure it out because it's just so and that is what we need to see change. And because that is what government should be about. And I love the fact that Boris Johnson has discovered he's a big football fan. Let's see some change comes out of that.
Yeah, but if you're a Newcastle fan, you can be justified in thinking you've been victimized, right? HMRC dropped a case after 4 years. Newcastle can't sell their club, right? So if you're a Geordie, you're thinking, what's going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's that, and there's also the way in which other takeovers by owners with shall we say, undesirable connections have been treated by the Premier League and been welcomed with open arms by the Premier League. And it's well, whether it's discriminatory or not, we, as you know, it's kind of, if you both said, we need transparency to understand, to see if there's nothing to hide. And I think they do have something to. I think they definitely do have something to hide.
They do. Lots of messages flying in. I had another message. Kev, it's time for your second video question. We're going to turn.
Third.
Third. Sorry. Back to football matters, but it's from, and it's a very interesting one. It's a big Everton fan. Lives in Dubai. Great guy. Used to listen to all our shows in Dubai. Very knowledgeable about the game. So I'm looking forward to see what he's got to ask you.
Okay.
Hi Pete, hi Kev. Of the teams that look like they'll be joining Sheffield United in the Championship, which are the players you'd like to see from each team stay in the Premier League? Personally, I'd love Everton to make a move for Sander Berge, Sheffield United. He'd be great in that dedicated 6 role, because right now, since we've sold, since we've sold Ghana to PSG, we have nobody in that disciplined role. So I just want to know what you guys think. Also, Pereira, of course, at West Brom, but not really what we need. Thanks, guys.
Kev, if you could answer Mike and the dog, that would be great.
Well, it was a nice cameo. The dog was the cameo. Fair enough. Yes, I think Sander Berge has been linked with Everton, Arsenal. I think there's going to be a few takers for him because he's proved himself to be quite a decent player, to be honest with you, in the midfield. So that's one. I think West Brom, Pereira is the obvious choice because he can make things happen. When he's on the pitch. So he hasn't had a great season, but at the end, he's kind of come into his own. And whenever they've had good results, he's proved to be a really top player. And obviously, playing Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, he was the thorn in the side, wasn't he? That really got them going, and they won a game there. I think Fulham obviously are the next team who will eventually go down.
Yeah.
I look at Fulham and I think to myself, who do you pick from Fulham? Because they've got some really good players. Obviously the player I really look at, and I think to myself, he doesn't even play much. But when he does play, we know he can be effective. At times, and this sometimes is the problem for Premier League sides like this. So I look at Loftus-Cheek. Loftus-Cheek's been there from Chelsea. Will they sign him? I don't know. It's a strange one. It really is a strange one. With
question,
Newcastle. It's a really good question.
I will tell you, there's a player who's under the radar who plays for West Brom, who I think is great. That's the striker, Diagoni.
But he's only on loan, George.
He's on loan. He's on loan from the Turkish club.
Yeah,
right?
From Galatasaray. You see?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and that he's on loan. I mean, I think
he's a good player.
I think he's been in the shop window enough now that teams will take him.
Yeah.
But I don't think West Brom will be able to keep him.
I think you're. Yeah.
So again, at Fulham, probably their most important player has been a player who was already at Everton.
Yep. Lookman,
who was at Everton. Obviously, who's made his way back out of Europe and come back round, and now is at Fulham. But he probably is ready now to come to Everton. That's probably won't happen. But if there was one player at Fulham I think could do it, he was the one.
Okay, just to prove that we're not all about Newcastle upon Tyne, Graham is lying on the sofa with his wife, Sunderland fan. Graham the Jinx.
Graham the Jinx.
Kev, your friend.
My mate, Graham the Jinx.
He said, we've got you on the big TV. So there you go. There's your wave. Happy Saturday. Sunderland play tomorrow. They're at Northampton Town, I believe. Best of luck in the playoffs to Sunderland. And yeah, have a great weekend, Graham. Okay, George, I'm going to start with you. We're going to come to our Hollywood Baller of the Week, which is our footballing hero, someone that you've selected who's made a difference in the last 7 days throughout the game. Who have you got for us?
Chelsea midfielder Kante. What a play. What a performance. Yeah. What a performance. The guy was everywhere. I mean, to me, it wasn't even close this week for me. Honestly, this guy was head and shoulders above everybody. What a player. Chelsea, very lucky to have him. Great attitude, great human being, great role model. What a performance against Real Madrid. Great decision. Chi, have you got a hero of the week in the world of football for us? Could be anyone from last night, really.
Yeah, I'd love to pick them from the team last night, but I've kind of got two. I've got Ian Wright, who obviously we've watched Ian for years now, and the way he's opened up about racism on social media, and the video he created, which talked about the harms racism has done and the way the courts have allowed racist trolls off. I thought that I think just in terms of okay, I'm the only woman on this right now, but men talking about their own mental health and the experience of harms like that. That's such great. It's so good to hear that. And then the other one, just to show that I believe in diversity and I do go south of the river from time to time, is Hebburn Town. Winning the FA, winning the delayed FA. And if you watch the scenes and saw the photographs of that that's football as it is, as it should be. When you talk about communities, that was a huge community boost, and so that really cheered me up.
And I've got a friend at BT Sport who showed that final, Hebburn Town against Concert, and he said to me from a producer, and they've covered all of the games this season, Champions League, Premier League. He said single-handedly that was the best game of football he's seen this season. Absolutely, hats off to everyone there. Kev,
I'm going to go for Riyad Mahrez at Man City. Their first Champions League final. Finally, Pep has got Manchester City across the line. And he came up with the goods on the day, 2 goals. Really good performance against PSG. Things started to get a little bit feisty, but they kept their head. And Riyad Mahrez was the match winner, wasn't he, with 2 goals? So fantastic. He's my baller of the week.
Great player.
Fantastic. Great choices. Absolutely brilliant show. Guys, don't worry. Before we go, we will be sharing the last part of the code for you. It'll be more than my life's worth if I left the studio without doing that. Okay, it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, the most competitive part. Chi, welcome to the madhouse. It is predictions time. It gets rather fraught. In here.
What is going to happen?
Well, everyone's going to predict the score. We see who was right next week, and we come back and we see who the champion of the weekend was. As simple as that, you would think. Kevin takes it so seriously, of course, rightly so.
Yes, he should.
He's a professional.
Gee, I'm competitive and I want to win. That's all you need to know.
What happened last week, Pete? What happened last week?
Okay, so what happened last week was it was joint winners.
Whoa. How could it when one of the games have cancelled?
So you don't out.
So
we took them out. We took that game out.
No, but you can't. How can you take that
because
out?
You didn't win. Because you didn't win.
No. It's for everybody, isn't it?
All right, so hang on. Let's find out. What was the outcome?
Out of the 4 games that took place, George, Lee Cosgrove, who famously pulled down John Stolako's shorts in the FA Cup semi-final, he scored 5 points.
Wow.
Okay, he got 2 correct scores, 1 correct result. Okay.
Right.
Kev, he got 4.
Wow.
4 points. So Lee, out of the panel, Kev,
so
Kev
it was riding on that Man United game. That's my point, Pete.
Well, I'm not going to take it away from our fans who
I tell you what. Do that with the pools, Pete. You do that with the pools. You take one result out, there'd be nightmares.
Gee, we're like this every week. We're like 10-year-olds. So we're like 10-year-olds.
Yeah, I didn't realise I was coming to a match.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so this weekend's 5 chosen games are as follows, right. And it's ladies first to start. So, Chi, our first game for you to predict the score line is Leeds United at home to Spurs.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, George, but I'm gonna go for a draw, and I'm gonna go for 1-1 for a draw, because I think the Leeds manager has been. I think they're performing above expectations, and I'm hoping it's going to continue.
Good shout, that one, George. Yourself.
2-1 to Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.
Kev, I've got a sneaky feeling where Kev's going.
Have a guess where I'm going.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, it's been a nice show. Thank you so much.
No, I'm going 2-1 to Leeds. I think they get Cooper back. Liam Cooper comes back. I'm going 2-1.
Jason Edwards is with us. He's gone from our fan panel. Jason's gone with 2-1 to Spurs. Lee's back. Last week's champion or not, as the case may be. Sorry about that.
No, all right. I'll give it him, Pete.
He's taken Leeds. Our reigning champion has taken Leeds 3-1.
3-1. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So so game of the weekend, arguably, no doubt, really. Man City against Chelsea. Chi.
Okay, so this I'm going to let my heart and my head go together, because Man City are a fantastic team, and also Manchester is a great city, and they've been doing so much work with the food banks as well there. But I also think they, as we've said before, they have the biggest, most to lose in a way. So I am going to predict 3-1 to Man City.
Okay, good shout, George.
2-1 to Man City, and I want City to win. Nothing at Chelsea. Just so the Champions League final can be even better, right?
Got you. Okay, great stuff. Super Kev?
Yeah, I've gone 2-1 Man City as well, and I'm even going to say I want Kevin De Bruyne is going to score the winner.
Okay, great.
Which minute? Which minute?
I
don't mind as long as he scores it.
Jason's gone 2-1 to Manchester City. And Lee, who's a Man United fan, has gone 2-1 to Chelsea. Love football rivalry. It's brilliant, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. Liverpool at home to Southampton. Chi, what have you got for us?
You know what? I'm going to go for 3-1 to Liverpool. I mean, I think Southampton. Well, yeah. So 3-1 to Liverpool.
Yeah. George?
3-1 to Liverpool.
Ooh.
I'm with you.
Popular score. And Kev?
3-0 Liverpool.
3-0 to Liverpool. Sorry, Southampton fans. Jace has got 3-0 as well. And Lee, who is a Manchester United fan, has taken a 1-1 draw for Southampton to get a point. Brilliant.
He does. He loves Liverpool, doesn't he?
Okay, no, he's not giving him nothing, is he? Okay. Manchester United against Aston Villa. Chi, you're up.
Well, yeah, Aston Villa started well. They haven't been doing so well, and also to show I'm not discriminating between the two Manchesters. So it's going to be Manchester United 2, Aston Villa 1.
Brilliant. Okay, George.
I got a feeling it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Villa are better than people think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, not a bad shout. And Kev.
I'm going to go 2-1 United.
2-1 to Manchester United. And lastly for the weekend, Chi, we've got West Ham against Everton.
Oh. Well, I think it's going to be Everton 1-0.
Okay. George.
1-1. Tight game.
Tight game. Kev.
I don't usually go against Everton, but I think West Ham are flying at the moment. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham.
All right.
Well, okay.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
That was
this is fun. I thought it's not so much fun when you
yeah.
leave.
I know.
Wait till I have to add the score. That's the fun bit over.
Pete, what's the other scores? Pete, what's Jason and what's the other scores?
Okay, Jason has got. All right, you're on.
From
Jason,
Villa Man United first.
Villa Man United. He has got 2-0 to Man United, and he's also got. And Lee has got 3-1 to Man United.
Yeah.
Then for West Ham and Everton, Jason's got 2-1 to Everton.
Yeah.
And so was Lee.
Right.
There you go.
The beautiful game.
There you go. Okay, so just before, we've still got the code. Don't panic, the code's coming. But before we leave, we always just take a look and see. Chi, I remember when we first met and we first did Hollywood Balls, you told me that your weekends were special as if you could get back at home. Are you in the tune or are you in London?
Unfortunately, I'm in London because it's the opening of Parliament next week. And
okay.
Yeah.
So a working weekend.
Yes, it is. It is. It's just as well it's raining down here, you know.
You've got that. You've got that 3 points to keep you warm. George, have you got in store a weekend of sofa meetings and football as per usual?
It's watching football. I've got to do a couple of agreements. There will be at least another club, not hopefully, that will be joining the system. You know, like Livingston have accepted TFC. There'll be another international club that I'm working with. You can see the green shirt in the background, right?
Yeah, I
can. Yeah. Who's that?
Confidentiality. We do things properly. You know that, Pete.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem. Is
it
just a teaser campaign?
Yeah. So look, Zoom calls. I've got three Zoom calls tonight. It's Saturday.
Okay.
It's just non-stop. It's fun.
Wow. And from one busy man to the busiest football pundit on the planet, Kev, who have you got this weekend?
Pete, it's an exciting weekend. I have got today, this afternoon, Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid.
Oh, what a game!
First versus third.
What a game!
And then tomorrow, second versus fourth, Real Madrid versus Sevilla. It's going to be a blockbuster weekend, Pete.
You got the best weekend then, I think.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you reckon? Barcelona game.
I reckon Barcelona are going to win.
Oh boy, wow.
I do. I reckon Barcelona are going to win. Real Madrid are going to win, and then they'll all be level on points.
Yes,
at the top. 3 games
season.
to go. Wow.
Dream scenario. Okay, one and all. Here it is. There you go. My work here is done, just about. Part 3 of the bonus room code, which only leaves me to thank our very own George from TFA. See you soon. Super Kevin Campbell. Of course, our guest of honor today. Thanks so much for
this. It's been really fun.
Thank you so much.
It's been great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you can subscribe to our channel, please, one and all, we would be grateful. And we will see you again next week. From me, Geordie Pete Redding on Hollywood Balls. It's been a blast. Thank you.